Hello everybody, this is the Empirical Audiophile. In this video, I watched a video not long ago of a YouTuber, and I like his videos, I like what he does, but he did say something that I didn't think was necessarily 100% true. And I think as audiophiles, you progress. Like everything else in life, you progress. You first start out, you're made by a stereo system. It's not the best. You play records, CDs, stream your music, whatever is your thing. And usually that's when you're younger and you can't afford anything. You get something to play music and you listen to it. And as you progress, you get better and better, or you try to get better and better. And as you try to get better and better with your equipment, you're spending more and more money to achieve that. And of course, he does talk about the squirrels in your brain and stuff like that. The thing of it is you're never going to become an audiophile. You can become, if you don't progress. Now, if I want to listen to music, of course, I have lots of venues to listen to music. Go listen to music off of a old Philco radio or a Tombstone radio. That sounds beautiful. You don't need any more. For a lot of people, listening to music as background music, elevator music, that's good enough. But as an audiophile, we appreciate the music. So we start listening to it and saying, oh, I like the music, I'm playing it. Until you are taught what to listen for, or until you hear a system that can show you exactly what the whole thing about being an audiophile is, you don't understand it. Now, you may read something, you may read a book, you may hear somebody talk about it, but if you don't experience it, you definitely aren't going to understand it. I read Stereophile ever since Gordon Hope had Stereophile, and they made the little magazine. And I would read it, read how they explained everything. As I did in my last video, I read to you an article that was written by Stereophile, and it explained Conrad Johnson equipment, and it sounds the same as what people are saying today. Exact same wording about the equipment. And I think the 28-year-old equipment, it hasn't changed. The point I'm trying to make here is, he talked about, if you want to really be an audiophile, you're listening to the music. Well, I'd have to disagree. It's not just listening to the music. That is not the only reason you're an audiophile. And that's not the reason you improve your system and constantly are trying to achieve its precipice. Let's face facts. You start learning as you go on, and you hear sound and you play whatever medium you're playing, and you start really getting into not only the music, that's why you bought the music, because you want to hear it, but you start analyzing the music. And you start realizing that as you progress and you hear other systems, you start realizing that, there's more to the music than just playing back music. There's a lot of stuff being kept out of the music that you don't hear until you start improving your system, okay? And as audiophiles, we like that. I understand what he means about holographic 3D imaging, and you want it to be deeper and you want to be wider. Well, that's part of being an audiophile too. You soon learn about holographic imaging, depth of your sound stage, how wide it is. If you go bonkers on it, you may just never achieve that. I understand what he's saying. But that's part of being an audiophile, not just listening to the music. We want to hear something that you can't hear, let's say, off of a normal radio. Now, like a Bose radio, for example, sounds very good, No one will say, oh, that doesn't sound good, but you're not getting all the information. And that's, as audiophiles, I think what we're looking for. We want to achieve and get all the information we can at a price point. That's what I'm saying. Do you need to spend $1 million on a system? No. You can only achieve so much that your wherewithals are going to permit. Okay, we understand that. Like with my system, I can only achieve so much out of the speakers I have, the equipment I have. I know I'm only going to achieve so much, and I'm not going to keep buying new equipment that's not going to make it any better. I can only afford so much. But whenever I put a CD on, and I like listening to CDs, a piece of music on, it is amazing still to me after 50 plus years of listening. It's amazing to me the things I hear that I did not hear. I'll give you an example. We've all seen the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, correct? And it's a classic by Steven Spielberg. And we have listened to the music when it came out. You still may be buying it. And it's great. So if you listen to, let's say, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, this would be from a movie, that the movie soundtrack, and you listen to it and say, oh, that sounds good. I like it. That's why you bought it, because you like the music or whatever on the soundtrack. As you progress in your system, you're going to hear more than just the music. That's why you're an audiophile. That's what you want to do. Hear more than just the music. For example, I'm looking at this CD, and on track 24 called Wild Signals. Now, this is when they are talking to the mothership. And the guy is like on an organ, and the mothership is doing deep tones, and they're talking back to each other. We've all seen this scene. Now, I've seen this scene a lot of times. I'm sure you have. And we've heard it. It sounds great. But the thing about it is, like, this is a remastered Japanese version of Close Encounters of the Third Kind. And it says on here, 20-bit digital mastering from the original master tapes, 1998. And I got the CD and thought, well, I'll like it because I like the music of Close Encounter. I have it on record, but I don't have it on CD. So I finally bought the CD version, and I bought the Japanese version. Now, during that conversation that they're having, for example, if you listen to it, they're using a tuba, and it doesn't quite sound like they're using an organ or a synthesizer. Okay, as they're communicating between each other, you can kind of figure out, oh, it's a tuba. But when you listen to it, let's say on a CD, it changes. Now, if you haven't heard this and you have it on a DVD, or if you haven't seen the movie, watch that part of the movie over again. Okay, just that section of where they're talking to each other, which is, of course, on the CD. Now, I don't know if you can hear this if you stream it, but I know you can hear it off the CD, and I can hear it with my L-Tex and Conrad Johnson equipment. And what gives it away, and I don't know if I should say this ruins it, it doesn't ruin it, is you can hear the valves on the tuba. You can hear him pressing on the valves, and you can hear ambient noise as they're playing it. You can tell it is instruments. It loses its, what can I say? It loses its imagination that this is a conversation between a mothership and a synthesizer or an organ, as if you watch that particular part. You can tell it's instruments. and you can hear the valves being hit down on the tuba, and you can hear that the coming back with the synthesizer doesn't exactly sound correct. You can hear the deep tones of the tuba, but once you hear that, you realize that's not a mothership. It's just a tuba. Now you can hear it. Now, according to what this other guy said on his channel, you shouldn't get lost in that. But I, as an audiophile, that is the reason I'm an audiophile, because these little nuances that you listen to, these little bits of detail that you listen to, it's part of the music. If you do not hear it, does that mean it doesn't exist? You know, like if a tree falls in the wood, does it really make a sound? As your system gets better and better, you will hear things like that. Yes, it is really a shame when you listen to something like that, you realize these are just instruments. They sound like instruments. You can hear the valves. You can hear them pressing on the valves. It's coming through. You can hear ambient noise from the instruments that you can't even hear on the film. Or if you have an inexpensive system, you may not hear what I heard, the valves being hit, or the extra bit of information that's coming from that piece of the movie. So I wanted to bring this up. This is something I like. This is why I spent the money I did on my system, because I like listening to the music, I like listening to the piece, but I also like the imperfections of what's there. It's part of the recording. He makes a thing that, you know, you shouldn't dwell on that. Well, I like it. I'm sure a lot of people like it. They want to hear these nuances that are being played, because they're part of the music. If someone moves in their chair and squeaks it, I want to hear it. If it's on there, I want to hear it. It is part of it. You can hear it. That's what pushes us to be audiophiles. If you don't really care about any of that, of course, you make a system that you don't hear it. But it's really, to me, a joy, not only to hear the music, but it's one of those things, it's part of being an audiophile. That is why you're spending the money. If you cannot hear like this, for example, if you can't hear track 24, if you happen to listen to this, or if you happen to have the CD, listen to track 24. If you do not hear the valves, which give it away as it's just the tuba, it's not a mothership, it gives it away. You can tell that he's blowing in a tuba. It just gives the whole thing away, where the movie doesn't kind of portray it, just portrays it as a deep sound. The CD portrays it as, yeah, it's a tuba, and no, that's not a synthesizer. You can tell by the way it's being played. It may ruin it for some people. As he said, that's not what being an audiophile is. But I have to say, I have to beg the difference, because it is part of being an audiophile. And it is part of being revealing of what is there. If you don't want to hear what is there, go get a Bose, system. And you can play music and it'll sound great. But I think that's part of being an audiophile, that we do want to hear the low tones. We want to hear everything that's tight. We want to hear the depth. That's all part of the enjoyment of being an audiophile. So I have to disagree that we progress as audiophiles because we want to hear what's there. That's all. I want to hear what's there, whether it's good, bad, or indifference. Yes, I could be analytical and hear, but if I can hear it, I'm not being analytical. It's there. It just pops out. I'm not like, no. It just is there. You know, Cowboy Junkies, when they have the fan going, then you can hear it in the church. It's there. It's present. It's on the tape. It's what's there. If you don't hear it, then you don't have a system that's revealing. Does that make the music any worse? No, because if that's what you want and that's all you can achieve, it's fine. But if you want to get to the 9th degree of what is being taped and then put onto a medium, whether you're streaming or record or whatever, that's why you advance to the next level. And that's why we keep advancing to the next level. I've heard very expensive systems, just like he claimed, that didn't have any body or soul or didn't emotionally get you involved. I've heard the same thing too. You're trying to achieve that. So that's where I kind of disagree. We audiophiles, the reason we're so anal is because we want to hear things like that, where the untrained person may gloss over it and not even hear it. But a lot of times when people will hear something, they'll say, I never heard that before. I never quite knew that was in there. Or you know, like, wow, was I missing that? Because it's so clear and so pronounced and so part of the music, you can't help but not hear it, unless you've got bad hearing. You cannot help but not hear it. It's there. It's present. It's part of the original. So I guess it depends. If you're the audiophile like me and you want to hear everything to the 9th degree, you get a system that will play it. Now, the thing that kills me is the LTEC sitting next to me, you know, they're 47 years old and they still produce everything that's there. All the nuisance that other people may not hear, because I've had people do that. Bring over a CD or a record and say, oh, wow, that sounds a lot different than what I heard on my system. Okay. And I would have to look at him and say, yeah, it's a bad recording. He also made something about recordings. You're starting to analyze recordings. Yeah, people, there are bad records and there are good records. There are bad recordings and there are good recordings. If you have a system that tells you this is a pile of garbage, you have a good system because it's just telling you what is there. If you want a system that masks that, and every CD you put on or every record you put on sounds great, you don't have a system that's reproducing what is actually there. You know what I mean? I want to know what's there. That's what I want to hear. If there's somebody farting, I want to hear it. It's there. If you want to mask that and have all your CDs sound great, Shangri-La, and oh, isn't everything wonderful? That's great. That's okay. But then you got to take it to the next step if you want to hear what a real audiophile listens to, which is everything. So do a little test on yourself. Track 24, if you don't have the CD, you can buy the CD. It's not that expensive. You can get it off of Amazon, the Japanese version, and just listen to it. These are things that audiophiles learn as they progress about. Don't be fooled by what these people are telling you. Don't be fooled by it. And that's the problem. Being an audiophile means to listen to music. Anyone can listen to music, but you want to listen to the details. You know, like they say, God is in the details. That's what you want to listen to, the details. That's what you're trying to achieve. But you're trying to also achieve the synergy between the equipment and your speakers and to get everything just right. And we get disillusioned by listening to people selling you something better. Oh, this is far better. This is better than that. That's garbage. You know, and it's only going to cost you $2,000 more, $2,500 more. You know, it isn't. Don't listen to your ears. Don't listen to what other people say that, because that is the way it is. So that's it for this video. If you haven't heard this, listen to track 24, for example, and it really makes you think, this is why I'm an audiophile. Because it's playing what was there, not playing what's not there. And you realize if you're not hearing it, then your system isn't being detailed enough, and you're missing part of the music. That's part of live music. That's why you listen to live music. You'll hear the flaws. You'll hear the, you know, the valves hitting. You'll hear the guitar, and you'll hear the fingering of the guitar. That's part of live music. You can't stop that. You know, it's part of being an audiophile. That's what we try to achieve. So until next time, this is the Empirical Audiophile. Thank you for watching.